Good morning, everyone who is coming in. Let me make sure we are, everything is where it's supposed to be. Then we're going to get started in one moment. Are we live on LinkedIn? Yes, we are live on LinkedIn. We are live on Facebook. Good morning. We are live on Rumble. Good morning. We are live on X. Good morning. Live on YouTube. Good morning. Live on Instagram. What's going on, Chris Lopez? We are not live on TikTok. I'm still banned on TikTok. Today is only Tuesday. I am banned until the 30th, which is Thursday. And I think my ban lifts, I'm looking at, they gave me an exact time on my ban lifts, which is 8:56 a.m. I usually start my lives at 8 o'clock, so I probably won't be live on TikTok until Friday. Maybe I'll do a bonus live on TikTok Thursday afternoon. Thursday morning or Thursday afternoon, talking about how it feels to be banned, how it feels to be released. We'll just say I got pardoned by President Trump when I finally get unbanned from TikTok Thursday at about 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern. But the show shall continue. Y'all already know the show shall continue here. Today's topic, as you already know, all of you can see the title. We are going to be talking about the future-proof skills that you need. And I got a good amount of material I need to get to you all. So let's get into this as quickly as possible. So when I talk about future-proofing, for those who are not familiar with the concept, it is exactly as it sounds. It is positioning yourself such that whatever changes, occurs, or gets implemented in the future, you can still do your thing, whatever your thing may be. And what we're talking about when I say future-proof skills you need, what we're talking about is future-proofing yourself so that things that change in the industry, things that change in the world, things that change with technology, things that change socially, as change occurs, and we know change is always going to occur. Change is the one constant that we have in life. You want to set yourself up such that you have certain abilities, knowledges, skills, and aptitudes that no matter what occurs, you will still be able to provide value in the marketplace. That's what this is about here today. So if you never heard me talk about this before, that's okay, because I'm going to break it all down here today. And in this 4-part series, you hear my son trying to get into my office, but the door's locked, so he can't get in. So I'm going to tell you how to make yourself immune to any technological or societal changes that may render other skills you have right now irrelevant. Some of you have some skills that will be rendered irrelevant. All of us have some skills that will be rendered irrelevant by technology and artificial intelligence, because the technology will be able to do it faster and more efficiently than we can do it as humans. But good news is there are a lot of skills that us as humans can develop that there will never be any technology that can replace these abilities. So the more that you have these abilities, the more valuable you will be heading into the future, regardless of what changes. So how many points do I have here today? I think I might have 9 of them, 10, 11, 12, 13. I got 13 of these I'm going to give you here today. So as I said, we need to get into this quickly. Let me tell you who I am first. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day, former 9-year professional athlete, author of 40 books, done 4 TEDx talks. I own this company called Work on Your Game. Over here, we help people with their achieving their highest level of performance, doing so consistently through a system and a strategy, and then making sure that you are held accountable to implement and actually produce the results that you want. We do that in our company. You can find out more about that by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link's in my bio or in the description, wherever you are consuming this. Let's get right into it. As I told you, we got 13 different skills I'm going to give you here that will make you future-proof. The more of each of these skills you have. Okay, so if you want to just have one of them, go have one of them. But ideally, if you want my suggestion, you should have all of these skills. These are all abilities that any of you can develop at any time. It is going to take effort and work, but what doesn't take effort and work? Everything does. So let's get to it. Number 1, communication. These are not in any particular order, by the way. Communication. if you want to future-proof yourself, you must become a really, really strong communicator. And when I say communication, I mean both getting your point across in the verbal format, like talking, as I'm doing right now, and getting your point across in the written format, such as sending emails, text messages, writing an article, whatever. Getting your point across, just writing words down. And this is also in two modalities, is both one-to-one and also one-to-many. So being able to communicate, talking to one person is one skill. Being able to communicate your message to a group of people, talking to 10 people, 20 people, 1,000 people, that is also a skill. The better you are at these abilities, the more future-proof you will be. And why is this? Because communication, ladies and gentlemen, is the foundation of society. The foundation of interplay between human beings is communication. The reason that we have a civilized society today is because we can communicate with each other and we can all get our points across. And when you go to other places, they have a style of communication. You either learn to adapt or you need to get somebody with you who can help you get around, because if you can't communicate, you can't operate in polite society. You can't operate in modern society if you cannot communicate. So the way that we get our points across, what we want, who we are, how we feel, anything else, is through communication. And if you look around in life, you'll notice that the best communicators usually ascend to the highest levels of leadership. The people in the highest levels of leadership are the best communicators. So I often will say something like, I'll give compliments to people like President Barack Obama. Say he's one of the best communicators politically that we've seen in the last 25 years. He's probably the best. I would put Donald Trump right up there with him, maybe at just a little bit. Not that he's not as smooth and eloquent as Obama, but he's just as effective as Obama. And sometimes people who don't like Trump say, well, how can you say Trump's not that good of a communicator? Well, you can't say someone's not a good communicator if they ascend to the highest level of leadership in the country. All right, because they had to communicate something to get you to follow them. All right, he didn't just stand there and get people to want to be his supporter. They're supporters because he was able to communicate a certain message to a certain audience that got people interested in following him, being galvanized behind him, and wanting to support him. And he did it through 3 elections, 3 election terms. He was able to get an audience of people to support him. So you can't say the guy's not a good communicator. He's an amazing communicator. He may not communicate in the way that you prefer. That doesn't mean he's not good. And a lot of people are not able to separate their emotions from the logic in that situation. So that's why I like to use that example. So you can be a high achiever while at the same time being a poor communicator, but you can never ascend to a leadership position and keep it if you can't communicate. Everybody hear me? You can never ascend to a position of leadership and keep it if you cannot communicate. All right, if you want to be a leader, you must become really, really good at communication. And some of you are good at the skill. You're good at doing a thing, whatever your skill is or your ability. But if you don't have the communication skills, you're going to just stay being a person being used for your abilities, but not being followed as a leader. You're going to be followed as a leader. Communication is the key. And actually, you can be a really good communicator and not even that good at the skill. You can get people to follow you. Why? Because the communication skill is the thing that allows you to galvanize masses of people. You cannot galvanize masses of people with just effort alone. You got to be able to get your point across. So a high achiever who's a poor communicator, again, you got to keep working. So all of you need to get really good at writing, speaking, and conversing. Writing, speaking, conversing. These are the forms of communication. You must be really good at all of these. Speaking, when I say speaking, what I mean is to a group of people. Conversing is when you're talking to one person. And writing, all of you know what that is. Moving on, next skill. Conflict resolution. What we're talking about here today is future-proofing yourself. How do you make yourself future-proof, meaning that you will always be valuable regardless of what changes when it comes to technology and artificial intelligence and just life in general. Second thing, conflict resolution. And I want you to notice that every point that I'm going to bring up here today are things that cannot be replaced by artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence can technically it can mimic voices and have AI people talking. Yes, it can write an article for you if you ask it to. Yes, but it can't write it in the way that you would write it. It wouldn't say it in the way that you say it. It can't talk the way that you would talk. And also artificial intelligence cannot resolve conflicts. Now, again, I think AI is going to keep getting better, but there's going to be a human touch that AI will never have. And you're going to notice that every skill I'm going to lay out here today requires a certain level of human touch that cannot be created through technology. That's why you need to develop these. So the second one is conflict resolution. This is a branch of communication. And conflict resolution means your ability to solve problems. Doesn't necessarily mean breaking up a fight or resolving an argument between two of your coworkers. Not necessarily. That's part of it, but that's not the whole thing. Conflict resolution means solving problems both internally, meaning your own problems, solving your own conflicts, and externally, whether it's with you and another person or others that are not you and you getting in the middle of it and solving the problem. So the reason why this is a future-proof skill is because this is not code-based. There's not a code-based black and white binary system you can create to solve a conflict, because conflict requires a certain interplay between human beings that involves not only black and white objective facts, but also feelings and energies that cannot be replicated by technology. That's the reason why this is a skill that cannot, this is a future-proof skill if you have it. So any of you who doesn't have this skill, I would suggest you develop it, because again, technology cannot overtake this, and it will always be valuable because every human being always has some kind of conflict. And anytime you have an organization with multiple humans involved, such as a household, such as a business, a sports team, a family, anything, there's going to be conflict. Why? Because human beings have different agendas, and sometimes those agendas clash with each other. So the better you are at helping conflicts get resolved, the more valuable you become. So this personal touch, as I said, a human being, you need to be able to modulate your words, meaning you saying something and me saying something, even if we say the exact same thing, it comes off completely differently because I present myself and I carry a certain energy in how I talk. You have present yourself and you carry a certain energy when you talk. So people receive the exact same message in different ways coming from different people. So your ability to modulate your tone, your words, your energy, your eye contact, all of those things when you're communicating plays a big role in how people receive what you say. Can we agree to this? Of course we can. I was recording on a podcast yesterday. It's called Authors on Mission. They help authors write books. And the woman who I was talking to, I gave her this exact example that I just gave you, that if she gets on a stage in front of 5,000 people and says something, and then I come up right after her in front of that same audience and said the exact same thing that she said, the audience will receive our communications differently because we're different people. And your ability to get your point across in a certain way when necessary is a valuable future-proof skill. These are also forms of soft skills. So your ability to solve conflicts also contributes to your ability to lead. Also, just so all of you know, because when you're in a leadership position, for those of you who have never been in one, something you need to understand is that leaders have to have the ability to disappoint people at a level at which they can accept. Leader does not mean you're always making everybody happy. That's not possible. Look at the presidents we have in America. Look at Donald Trump right now. Is everybody happy about the things that he's doing? No, there are some people who are happy about what he's doing. There are some people who are angry about what he's doing, or at least they're feigning anger. And then those are the TDS, derangement syndrome people. And then you have people who are kind of indifferent to what he's doing. The thing is, when you're in a leadership position, it is impossible to please everybody. When you're in a leadership position, it is impossible to please everybody. And this is why you have to have the mental discipline to understand that no matter what you do, once you ascend to leadership, that somebody's going to be pissed off with every single thing you do, everything you say, and whatever you represent. They're going to be mad at you for stuff you didn't even do. Why? Because you're the leader. And this is the way it works. So any of you want to step into a leadership position, this is what we call the penalty of leadership. And your ability to resolve those conflicts or live with those conflicts. The fact that people are disappointed with something you did, said, or decided, you got to be able to still lead and keep going, because the saying goes, I told people this many years ago, you cannot lead people and need people at the same time. If you're going to lead, you got to be willing to piss some people off in order to get done what needs to get done. And a lot of people don't have that ability. That's a mental toughness thing, which might be one of my points here today. I don't know. We'll see. Let's keep going. Keep in mind, again, a leader must be willing to disappoint people if you're going to lead. Number 3, we're talking here today about future-proof skills that all of you need. Number 3, the ability to make complex decisions, complex decision making. Now, again, I just told you there is artificial intelligence technology that can help you make decisions right now. You can say to it, hey, I was talking in ChatGPT the other day. I was saying to it, I have this many of these. I was looking at my email sender softwares. I can send a certain amount every month and a certain price we got to pay. And then you pay overage fees if you go over. I got this many that I've sent so far. I can send this many over the course of the month because the month's almost over. If I send this many every day and my list is this size, how many can I send before I go over the number, and how much would it cost? And I was just asking it all these questions, and it was giving me the answer, and it just did all the calculations. That's simple decision making. What it did was just simple math that I didn't feel like doing. So I just went to ChatGPT and had to do the math for me. That's simple math. Our AI, artificial intelligence, will be able to do that at a really fast, really high level, to the point that a lot of math that gets taught in schools these days, you won't really need to know it, quote unquote, know it, because you can plug it into a computer, it'll do it for you. However, complex decision making that involves multiple pieces, multiple people, feelings, energies, emotions, etc. AI will not be able to do this. There will not be any technology or software that can do this for you. Therefore, the better you are at it, the more valuable you will be in the world in the future. Complex decision making. And again, computers are being trained to be better at this, but humans will always be best at it. Computers are getting better, but humans will always be best. In other words, over the next 50 years, there will not be an AI bot that's going to run for president and beat a human. It's not going to happen. Why? Because an AI bot cannot make complex decisions. It can make simple decisions. It can make binary decisions, and it can do simple things that you ask it to do if you give it all the information. The problem is when you're dealing with human beings, there is no such thing as all the information. Why? Because the information changes. People's feelings and opinions change. People's point of views and perspectives change. And when you have an interplay amongst multiple different pieces, the number of possible variations of a situation are endless. They are infinite. This is why leadership is so important, because a leader, and also here's the other thing, there's no way you can come up with a perfect answer. And see, this is the thing that technology doesn't quite understand. And I don't think it'll ever understand it the way that a human can understand it. There are no perfect answers when you're in a position of dealing with multiple human beings, because things change. And again, as a leader, you have to be willing to piss some people off in order to get done what you want to get done. So looking at a situation that has multiple pieces, multiple parts, moving pieces, moving parts, you got to figure out how to massage or finesse the situation, even if it means you got to disappoint some people, but you got to disappoint them at a level at which they can accept and tolerate, to where they'll still follow you. Like, I'm disappointed in the decision you made, Mr. or Mrs. Boss. However, I understand why you did it, and I'm going to still ride with the team and do what needs to be done. See, AI can't get a human to feel that way. A human can get a human to feel that way. And this is why this is a future-proof skill. So this is something that computers aren't quite able to do. And if you ask me, they will never be able to do this at the level that a human can. Their AI will be able to, and technology will be able to answer complex questions if you give it as much information as possible. However, it will never have the touch of a human being. That's why many of these that I'm talking about here, folks, are what people call soft skills. So soft skills are human touch skills that, again, you cannot replicate with with software coding or a computer chip ever. So that's why you want to have these. So what we just discussed here, complex decision making, is really multiple skills combined into one concept, which is, again, something that technology won't be able to do. That's why you need to have these. Number 4, we're talking here today about future-proof skills that all of you need to have and develop in spades. Number 4, contextual understanding. Contextual understanding. This means seeing something that could be seen as black and white while looking at it in different contexts. So what does this mean? Let me give you an example. So if somebody is speeding in a car and you don't come to a complete stop at a stop sign, and we had software police, let's say we had AI cops, all they're going to do is notice that you didn't come to a complete stop at the stop sign, and they're going to come pull you over and write you a ticket, because technically you didn't stop at the stop sign. You didn't stop. You kind of rolled through the stop sign, and we all do that, right? Now, is that correct? Is that a contextual understanding of what was happening? No. And this is the reason why you still need human beings to make ultimate decisions in many cases. Now, could you teach the AI, or if they slow down enough, then don't write the ticket. And if they kind of roll through it, then go get them and write the ticket. But it depends. We need contextual understanding. What if you pull the car over? Let's say a real cop pulls the car over and they realize that the person in the car has his pregnant wife in the back seat and she's in labor. And he's speeding just to get to the hospital. Now, is the cop going to write him a ticket? Probably not. Now, would the AI understand that? No. See, this is contextual understanding. And I'm using that as a raw example, but I want you all to understand this. And a lot of humans really don't have this ability right now. That's why any of you who develops this will make you more valuable today. Contextual understanding means being careful when you are presented information that has been pulled out of context, and then noticing that it's out of context, and then asking for or requiring additional context before you come to a conclusion. Most human beings don't have this ability, especially on a subject on which they've already drawn a conclusion, and they're just looking for confirming evidence. So we call it confirmation bias. So, for example, I mentioned President Trump a couple of times here. I'll use him as an example because all of you have an opinion. If you have an unfavorable opinion of Donald Trump, and then you hear a negative story about him, whether it is true or not, or if it's a fact, quote unquote, pulled out of context, you won't ask for the rest of the context because you already don't like them. So what you just received was what we call confirming information. So you already don't like them. So anything you hear that confirms that bias of not liking him, you'll accept it without even asking yourself, is this in proper context? And someone who does like him will say, that's out of context. That got pulled out of context. And again, a lot of human beings lack this ability on many different subjects. So it's going to be really hard for AI to kind of get this, because how's AI ever going to know that you're leaving context out when you give it, quote unquote, the facts? Humans can't even figure it out. So how's AI going to figure it out? And I don't think AI is smarter than humans. Well, at least not most humans. Smarter than a bunch of humans, but not everybody. So contextual understanding, folks, means you need to understand the full context of any situation in order to come to a sound conclusion or a good decision. The problem is, and this has always been an issue with human beings, is that there are some very tricky people out there who will pull things out of context, not tell you that they pulled that out of context, then present it to you as if it's the full information, and then ask you to make a decision based on the not full context information that they're presenting to you. So you have to get really good at sussing out people's bullshit. This is what we call discernment. Discernment is part of this whole point that I'm giving you here. Contextual understanding. Discernment means simply solving the unsolved mysteries and finding out what's not being told to you. And discernment is a high level skill, because discernment is not about looking at what's there. Discernment is about seeing what's there and asking yourself what's not here. And that's a question many people never ask themselves. And the better you can get at this, the better you'll have contextual understanding. And again, I'll say for the fifth time at this point, a lot of human beings do not have contextual understanding because a lot of people are not highly discerning at all. They pretty much, most human beings accept pretty much anything that you tell them, especially if it verifies something that they already believe. And that's the time you are most easily fooled, is when someone tells you something that confirms what you already believe. And this is how a lot of people can get swindled. This is how a lot of people can get misled and lied to, because you want to believe what you're being told, even if what you're being told is bullshit and a lie, because you don't have the discernment to ask yourself, is this actually true what I'm being told here? If any of you knows anyone who works in, like, ever been like a detective in the police force, they're very good at contextual understanding. They're very good at discerning the bullshit from the truth. A good lawyer, a defense attorney or a prosecutor, someone who has actually gone in the courtroom and actually argued in the courtroom, they're usually pretty good at discerning the truth from the bullshit. Judges in courts, usually pretty good at discerning the truth from the bullshit. Investigative journalists, these are people whose very job is about discerning the truth from the facts, and they are not the same thing. Facts can be pulled out of context. Truth requires all the facts in full context. Actual journalists. Journalism is on its deathbed right now, but when there were actual journalists, there are a few of them still out there. They are very good at contextual understanding. And again, contextual understanding is not about putting the pieces together in a smarter way than everybody else. Contextual understanding is about understanding that you probably are not even being given all the pieces, period. And you got to ask yourself, what pieces am I not being presented here? That's contextual understanding. And again, that requires a certain dimension of thinking that most human beings, again, look around in life, most human beings don't have it. So next, we're talking about future-proof skills. All you need to have. Number 5, original thought. Original thought. Now, here's where you can kick AI's ass, because AI, for those of you who don't understand, artificial intelligence only has its intelligence because it's pulling from all the information that's already been created and generated, and it basically puts it all together, and then it spits out a new version of all the information. It's just an amalgamation of all the information. It kind of like creates a gumbo of all the information. Then you ask it a question, it gives you a response based on what it already knows from the internet. In other words, it's basically a higher level Google. That's what it is. That's not to disparage it, but that's what it is. So original thought means coming up with a brand new idea that cannot be created by technology. Original thought, like a brand new thought and a brand new way of saying things and thinking about things and looking at things that has not previously been done, created, or shared. This is going to become more and more scarce and thusly more and more valuable as AI continues to encroach on our lives, and more people's thoughts or ideas or beliefs or information is going to be based on something that artificial intelligence gave to you, which is simply a new version of a regurgitation of what already exists. Again, artificial intelligence is very good at creating artificial thought because it's an amalgamation of everything it has had fed to it. So the better you can come up with something new and original, something that came out of your own mind, out of your own thinking, you are less replaceable because there's no software or computer code that could have come up with what you came up with. That's original thinking. This skill is already highly valued today because most human beings do not think at all. I'll tell you three constant truths about human beings in general is that most people do not think, most people do not read, and most people are lazy. So if you can develop the opposite of these three, so actually think, actually read, and don't be lazy, then you'll be ahead of 95% of the population. But we're just talking about thinking right here. Thinking in any way aside from repeating what you've been told is a skill, because most people only think about things based on what they've been taught to believe by other people, like your friends, your family, people you agree with, person you're a fan of on the internet. You'll believe what they tell you, but you don't think critically about what you're being told or what you're being sold. And critical thinking requires you questioning everything that's presented to you. Critical thinking requires you questioning everything that is presented to you, regardless of what it is, regardless of who said it, and regardless of how you feel about it. Critical thinking is not about how you feel. Critical thinking is about questioning the veracity of every single thing that's presented to you. And critical thinking takes effort, takes work. And is the reason why most people don't do it. I just told you, most people don't think, they don't read, and they're lazy. So critical thinking requires kind of a combination of all three. So it's a big opportunity for everybody to be an original thinker, to be a critical thinker, and going back to my first point here, to being able to communicate your critical thinking out to the world. So all these skills start to weave together if you pay attention. Your ability to think critically and then express that critical thought to the world makes you even more valuable, because again, most people can't do either one, and you can do both. That makes you really valuable. So a lot of people are thinking less these days because technology makes it easy for you to stop thinking. We have these devices called smartphones, but they actually have made people less intelligent. It's actually made people stupider since we got smartphones, because people think less because the phone is doing a lot of the thinking for you. That makes it more convenient, but at the same time, it makes you less necessary. So the devices are starting to replace human beings, and you're seeing this in real life. You go to the grocery store, it used to be 10 counters of people standing there with the conveyor belt to scan your groceries and bag your groceries. Now, instead of 10, there are only 3 counters with human beings, and the 7 other counters have been replaced by what? Self-checkout, which is what? Artificial intelligence doing the work that humans used to do. As human beings think less and challenge themselves to be less industrious mentally, technology is slowly replacing human beings. You see it's happening with your device. How often do you turn to your device for something that you could have figured out on your own? All of us do it all day, every day. And the more you become dependent on that device, understand that the larger world is doing the exact same thing. Again, go to your local grocery store. How many self-checkout counters were there 10 years ago versus how many they are now? Go to a Walgreens or a CVS. How many self-checkout counters are there now as opposed to how many there used to be? And eventually, they're not going to be any humans working at these counters. They're going to be replaced by computers. Amazon's not going to have delivery drivers. Uber Eats is not going to have delivery drivers. You go to a McDonald's or a Burger King, there will be no humans working in the store. They are all being replaced by human beings, and that's just at the base entry-level job places. And then they're going to start moving up to the middle-level jobs. All right, so if you don't work at an entry-level job like Uber Eats or DoorDash, or you don't work in McDonald's, or you don't work at the checkout line at a grocery store, you think that you're safe. You're safe for now. The first wave is they're going to replace all the entry-level people. So anyone working an entry-level job, or what many people call a minimum wage job, because that's pretty much what they're worth, you're about to get replaced now. All of you already know. You feel the fire on your ass right now. But then they're going to come from the middle-level jobs, the higher-level jobs where you actually have to have some skill. You might need a degree. You might need to have a little bit of experience. Those are next. All right, so don't get comfortable. And it's 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking before 2040. We're talking the next 15 years. This is happening. So don't get comfortable. So your ability to, again, think originally will save you from all of this. Moving on. We're talking here today, and I'm going to take questions and comments at the end, by the way. We're talking about future-proof skills that all of you need. Point number 6, artistic expression. Now, I don't mean that you need to become an artist. Don't mean you need to go draw pictures or do sculptures or make music. That's not what I mean. So technology is going to be able to create artwork now. We know that. We know that you can go into the Mid-Journey, and there's a bunch of AI software out there that you can type in a prompt and it can make an image out of nowhere, right? So We know that AI can do that at the click of a button and create thousands of copies of anything much faster than a human being can. So artistic expression is going to have competition from artificial intelligence. But that doesn't mean that a human's ability to do so will become extinct or not valued. So, for example, AI will be able to create, let's say, a rap album in 10, 20 years from now. Not going to take that long. 10, 20 months from now, AI could create a whole rap album and a whole person, a whole rapper that none of us even know who they are, but they created this rapper and they put an album out. I still rather listen to my favorite artist, who's an actual human. I still rather listen to their album than listen to the AI album, right? Because there's something behind artistic expression that requires some type of humanity. I want to listen to music because I want to believe that the person who made the music, there's something that they have experienced or thought or felt in their actual life that led them to making music. AI can't do that. So notice, again, all these points I'm giving you here, folks, it requires a certain level of human touch. So human beings will always gravitate towards other human beings who are genuinely expressing themselves in an entertaining or a captivating way. We will always be attracted to humans. So even 10, 20 years from now, there will be an AI bot doing a live stream on social media like I'm doing right now. People will still be more drawn towards a human doing a live stream on social media. Why? Because I can connect to a human being. I can't connect to an AI bot. I can get value from an AI bot, but I can't connect to an AI bot. Now, all of you who are listening to this, let's say 40, 50, 60 years from now, when your kids and your grandkids are using the internet, they may grow up to where that is normal. All right. So this is not always going to be the case. But right now in our lifetimes, this will be the case because the humans that we actually do value human connection. But again, your grandkids, they may grow up in a world where an AI bot basically being everywhere that they go is a normal thing. But it's not normal for you and I. So this one has a shelf life, but that shelf life is pretty long. So your ability to express yourself artistically, and artistically, I don't mean, again, you had to be a musician or an artist or a sculptor or a painter. I'm not any of those things. Artistically means taking your original thought, your ideas, your feelings, and being able to express them in a real human way such that other people connect with your communication. That's what I mean by artistic expression. So all of you have that ability. Number 7, we're talking here today about future-proof skills everybody needs. Number 7, inspiring and motivating other people. This is a skill. Not everybody has it, but it's extremely valuable. Why? Because every human being wants to feel motivated to do whatever it is that you have to do or that you choose to do. We all like feeling inspired. It gives us energy. And energy is one of the most valuable resources we have in life. You have 5 forms of investment in life. They are time, money, attention, energy, and focus. Energy is 85% of the job in all of life. If you have no energy, it doesn't matter if you have all these other things because you can't do anything with it. If you have a whole bunch of money and no energy, like 0% energy, and you can't even get out of bed, you're dead. Or so it doesn't matter that you have money. So energy matters a lot. So your ability to inspire and motivate others is basically your ability to inject energy into another person. And if you can inject energy into other people, you are a very valuable individual. Right? All of you can think of, I asked all of you to name your favorite motivational person online that you follow. All of you have an answer. It doesn't mean that you listen to this stuff all day, every day, but every one of you can answer the question because all of you understand the value of someone saying something or doing something or representing something or reminding you of something that gives you energy. Because when you have energy, you can produce more and you can create more output. More output creates opportunities for bringing in more input, i.e. making money, success, happiness, promotions, whatever it is that you want. So similar to artistic expression, your ability to get other people to move themselves to action, which is what inspiration and motivation is, makes you an extremely valuable individual. This is the reason why I do a lot of professional speaking, but this is the reason why any conference you go to, there's going to be at least one speaker who gets up on the stage and their main job is to motivate you. Every conference in the world, I don't care what the conference is about. I don't care what the subject is. Every industry in the world, there are conferences for them. All of you listening to me right now, you're in a certain industry. There are gatherings and events in your industry where even though the subject matter may be highly technical, there could be a biomechanics conference. Some speaker that gets on that stage at some point during that event is going to get up there for the purpose of motivating and exciting everybody in the room. Why is this? Because when you're motivated and excited, you're probably going to listen more. You're going to retain more of the information and you may engage more in whatever is happening from the stage. Every industry has this. Some industries, every speaker is like that. Some industries, maybe there's only one. But the point is, it exists. Why? Because everybody needs it. There's no human on the planet who does not benefit from being inspired and motivated. So your ability to do this will make you future-proof. Why? Because there will always be people who need it. There will always be 8 billion people, or 9 or 10 billion, however many we got. There will always be that many people who need inspiration and motivation. So the better you are at providing inspiration and motivation, the more valuable you become and the less replaceable you are. So motivate. And the other thing about motivation and inspiration is that it comes and it goes. This is a good thing about it for those of you who have the ability to deliver it to other people. Because if I motivate and inspire you on Monday, you may feel good for just that day, but by Tuesday you need it again. So now you got to bring me back in. Now I can give value again, and I can get some return for the value that I offer again. Now you need to get on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and Saturday. Or even if my motivation is so good that it'll last you a whole week, well, next week you need me again. So the good thing about being able to inspire and motivate people is that, first of all, everybody needs it. And secondly, everyone continues to need it. It's a recurring need. So you got to keep getting it over and over and over and over again. It's like brushing your teeth. Or if you're in the toothpaste industry, that's a good industry to be in. Not because you love keeping people's teeth healthy, but because people had to keep buying it. You never can buy enough toothpaste. It's not like you brush your teeth a certain amount of times, you never have to do it again. You got to keep brushing your teeth over and over and over and over again, which means people got to keep buying toothpaste. So if you're in the toothpaste business and you get some customers, you can just keep making sales over and over because people got to keep buying it. Inspiration and motivation is the same thing. People always need it, and they will always need more of it. Now, understand, as technology encroaches, yes, you may be saying to yourself, well, what if there's an AI motivator? Maybe. As I already told you with the artistic expression, we don't connect to robots and software nearly as much as we connect to a human. When a human is giving you an inspirational, motivational message, you feel the message emotionally because there is some part of that message that viscerally connects to your humanity, usually has something to do with the human and them explaining why they're saying what they're saying. You notice anything about a motivational speaker, or who you would deem a motivational speaker, is that they're usually giving you a reason why they're telling you what they're telling you. Like there's something behind the point, and that's what you connect with. That's the emotion that you connect with. There's a reason why former professional athletes often do a whole bunch of motivational speaking. Why? Because everyone knows who they are, and they usually have some story of guts and glory from the football field or the track or the basketball court that makes them motivational and inspirational because you know the story. So when they go over the story, you connect with that emotionally, and then they give you the action steps. You're willing to listen to it because you connect with emotionally what they've experienced. That's storytelling. And we're going to get to that later on in this live right now. So this ability to motivate. And here's the other thing, as I already talked to you about. As technology continues to encroach on human life, human beings are not getting smarter and working harder. We're becoming dumber and working less. The more technology we have, the lazier people get and the dumber people get, which means, but I already told you, people still need motivation and inspiration. And if people are getting lazier and lazier and they still need motivation and inspiration, that means the value of your ability goes up because people still need it, but they're even lazy. They're lazier now than they were before. They needed it then. Now they're all the way down here. They still need it. They need it even more than before. So your price, goes up because more people need it because people are just getting lazier. And as I said, stupider. So your ability to get people out of their inertia with your motivation and inspiration actually becomes an even more valuable skill. So don't forget, your ability to inspire and motivate is already valuable because most people can't do it. They can't inspire and motivate themselves, let alone can they do it for other people. You could do it for everybody. All right, you're valuable. Next, number 8. We're talking here about the future-proof skills all of you need. Number 8, learning from experience. And this one seems pretty simple, and AI does learn from experience. It's very good at it. And this is the reason why you need to get good at it, because if AI is learning from experience more than you are, then AI will surpass you and, again, replace you. So how many times have you made the same mistake more than once? All of you listen to this. How many of you have ever made the same mistake more than once? The most successful people are successful not because they don't make mistakes, but because they limit the amount of repeat mistakes. So it is a future-proof skill to have something go wrong or you to mess up in some way, but not mess up again in the exact same area. You may mess up again in another area, but you shouldn't mess up in the same area more than one time. So your ability to learn from experiences, not repeat your mistakes, it allows you to condense time frames. And why does condensing time frames matter? It matters because every human has a limited shelf life called literally life. And we all know when that shelf life runs up, that's called death. Every human listening to this, at some point, you're going to die. So we want to condense time frames by not making the same mistake more than once, such that once we get that lesson from that last mistake, we got the lesson, and now we're that much better and that much smarter, that much wiser based on the experience that we had in the past, even if it was an unpleasant experience. This is what condensing time frames is all about. And again, that's why you shouldn't make the same mistake more than once. So in school, what they would do when y'all were in school, you may remember that if a student didn't do well enough learning in the year, then they had to repeat the class all over again. And what does that cost them? It costs you time, because now you're old enough to be in the 5th grade, but you're still in the 4th grade. And now you got to do that whole year all over again. It's like Groundhog Day. Why'd you have to do that? Because you didn't learn from your mistakes. And I'm using that as a rough example, but you all get my point. So any of you who's made a mistake, or you're dealing with a mistake right now, just make sure you get the actual lesson from that mistake such that you do not repeat it. Next, we're talking today about future-proof skills, all of you need. Number 9, resilience. Resilience. This is not so much about your race against technology and the changes and how people operate. This is a personal asset that will always be valuable. Resilience is a simple personal attribute that will always be valuable. What does resilience mean? It means your willingness and ability to persevere and continue pushing forward in the face of challenging situations, in the face of arduous circumstances. That's what resilience means. Many people have very little resilience, very little mental toughness. They are not willing to persist. They are not willing to keep trying. They are not willing to try again and try a different approach. Most people try things somewhere between 0 and 1 time and they quit. Resilience is continuing to try things until you figure it out. And if you can develop resilience, you'll be in the top 2% of all human beings, especially in your specific space, because most human beings, I already told you, they don't think, they don't read, and they're lazy. Resilience requires effort. Resilience is you're a door-to-door salesperson, and the first 10 doors you knocked on today, they all slammed the door in your face and wouldn't let you make your sales pitch. Resilience is knocking on 100 more doors even after the first 10 didn't go so well. How many people do you know who would do that? Most people would not do it, because most people have no mental toughness, no resilience. They're not, as they say, anti-fragile. They're just weak. Most people are just mentally weak and emotionally weak, spiritually weak. And then they're weak in every other way, usually physically as well. So resilience, again, things happen, ladies and gentlemen. All of you know that things happen. Okay. And everybody in life has things happen to them. No one listening to this is immune from things happening. And when I say things happening, let's just call it the shit that happens. You know the saying, shit happens? All right. Shit happens in everybody's life. There's no human on the planet for whom shit never happens. The difference between the people who become successful and those who are not is that the people who become successful, when the shit happens to them, they deal with it and they keep going. That's the resilience. Whereas the people who don't become successful, when the shit happens to them, they either fail to deal with it or they allow that shit to slow them down and completely stop them. And therefore they stagnate at that very point at which the shit happens. Successful people have shit happen and they just keep going and they keep moving forward. And eventually they get through that shit. Then they run into some more shit. And they deal with that. And then they do it again and they run into some more shit and they keep doing it over and over and over again. And you will probably notice, we were just talking about motivation and inspiration. You notice that the people who you look to for motivation and inspiration usually have been through a whole lot of shit. Isn't that interesting? You see, you can't get a motivational and inspirational speech from a person who ain't been through anything, because they have no experience from which to draw anything they could possibly talk about. A motivational or inspirational message has to come from someone who has actually been through some shit, didn't know how they were going to get through the shit, figured out how to get through it, got through it, and now they can tell you how to do it, because you're dealing with the same shit now that they dealt with 5 years ago. That's why you're willing to listen to them. You see, AI can't do that, because AI doesn't have a 5 years ago. AI doesn't have a history. AI doesn't have a life story. You have one. And you only built resilience by actually going through shit. AI doesn't have to go through anything. That's the reason why it cannot replicate this. This is the human touch part that I'm talking about. This is the human touch part right here. AI doesn't have a soul, doesn't have a history. It was not born. It's just technology. So you want to find the angles from which humanity is necessary. And those are the places where you want to be great. I'm giving you a whole list of these things right now. So again, going through the shit is what makes you somebody. Because then when you get on a stage or on a platform or on camera and you start telling people, hey, this is how you deal with that shit, the only reason you are qualified to talk about it is because you dealt with it. If you didn't deal with it, you're unqualified to speak about it. Everybody understand this? So back in the days when I was making basketball content, with my basketball background, I barely played high school ball, walked on and played college ball, then I hustled my way into pro ball. I could talk to ball players about what to do when you get cut from the high school team. I could talk to players about what to do when you're walking on and playing college. I could talk to players about how to hustle your way into playing pro and piece together a career, even though there weren't really a lot of opportunities for you. I have the credibility to speak on those things because I actually lived it. But had I not lived it, I had no credibility and I wouldn't be talking about it. And it's the same thing for all of you. So when you go through the shit, now you have a story. But your story is irrelevant if you don't have any shit. If there's no shit in your story is irrelevant. Nobody wants to hear it. How many of you want to hear a motivational story from a person who hasn't been through anything? All right, it doesn't even exist. It's oxymoronic. There's no such thing as a motivational story from a person who's never been through anything. Because if you ain't been through nothing, what's the motivation? How are you going to motivate me? You ain't been through nothing. You haven't faced any challenges. You haven't dealt with anything in which you need to be resilient. Why would I want to listen to you? You see how that works? So all of you, some of you listening to this are dealing with some shit right now in your life. I'm imploring you to keep going, because as you make it through the shit, now you have a story that lends credibility to any point that you want to make in the future. If you keep going, Now, if you quit or you allow the shit to slow you down or stop you, then you don't have any credibility. You're done. But if you keep going, now you build credibility because you were willing to keep going when it looked terrible. That's the key. Okay. So this is critical to your future success. Again, whether you want to be a motivational speaker or not, that's not what this is about. It's about your willingness to keep going when things get tough, because whether you ever tell your story to the rest of the world or not, I'm assuming you're going through some stuff because you're trying to reach some level of success in something. And that's why you're facing a challenge. So if you want to reach the success, you got to keep going. You can't quit. You can't let it stop you. So this will always be needed. This will never go out of style. The need for resilience. Moving on. Number 10, we're talking here today about future-proof skills that all of you need to develop. Number 10 is personalized care. Now, what does this mean? No matter how much technology we continue to have access to, some people will always prefer to deal with a human being rather than dealing with a computer. This is just a reality of humanity. How many of you have ever reached out to a company? You had to call a company because they were supposed to refund you your money, or your order didn't arrive, or they messed up somehow, somewhere. You called the company, and then as soon as you call, you get on an automated system, and the automated system is trying to ask you questions. And what do you say if you want to talk to a human? You say, speak to a representative, or you push 0 over and over again until you get a human being on the phone. Why? Because you don't want to deal with the AI. You want to talk to an actual person. Understand, this will always be a thing. There will always be humans who want to talk to humans. So if you can figure out how to give people the personalized attention and personalized care that they want, because they don't want to deal with software or technology, you will always be valuable. Why? Because people want to deal with people. And this tends to be more true for people who trend a little bit older. So people over the age of, let's say people over the age of 50. Now, as long as you're dealing with people over the age of 50, they'll usually want to deal with humans and not deal with technology. Because any of you look at your parents or people in that age bracket, 50 and up, a lot of them are not very technologically savvy, and they don't want to deal with technology. They just want to talk to a human. And if there's something technologically based, they'll give it to somebody younger and say, yo, handle this, take care of this. But I'm not doing all that. This personalized care matters. Okay. So as I already told you, at the grocery store, you'll see it used to be 10 checkout registers. Now it's only 3, and all the rest is self-checkout. There's still a whole bunch of people who get in the lines with the humans. Why? Because they don't want to do self-checkout. They don't want to deal with a computer. They don't want to push buttons on the screen. They want a human to do it the way that they've always done it. And you may think these people are old-fashioned and living in the past, but understand they're still alive and they still got money, by the way. So if you want to do business and you're a professional, which means you get paid for what you're doing, then you got to sell to the buyers. Personalized care will be in high demand from people in the older age brackets because that's what they want. And it's not your job to judge whether they should want it or not. It's your job to give them what they want. First of all, economics, ladies and gentlemen, is supply and demand. So if there are people demanding it, you should supply it, you'll make money. That's how it works. Okay, so this personalized care is a thing, and it will always be a thing. Now, personally, me, I like using the self-checkout at the grocery store. I don't mind scanning my own stuff and putting it in the bag myself and pushing the buttons on the screen and not having to talk to a human being. In some circumstances, that's what I like. In other circumstances, for example, there's a company I need to call today because they owe me some money because they didn't deliver on the service and they didn't give me my refund yet. And I'm wondering where the hell my money's at. I want to talk to their computers. I want to talk to their bots. I want to talk to a fucking person and give me my fucking money. All right, that's humanity. All right, we want the connection to humans. So you need to figure out, where do people want personalized care that you could possibly provide or give them access to, and put yourself in that stream. Again, supply and demand. If you supply what people are demanding, they will pay you. All right, simple as that. So if you can make yourself that person that other people want to deal with because they want that personalized attention, you become future-proof. Moving on, point number 11. And we got 13 here today. We're talking about future-proof skills, all of you need. Number 11, relationship building. Huge. Building relationships. Life, ladies and gentlemen, comes down to relationships. It's not about how far you advance in your career. It's not about your money. It's not about your investments. It's not about how many push-ups you can do. It's about relationships. At the end of your life, who's going to be next to your bed in your last, when you're taking your last breaths? Who's it going to be? The people you had the strongest relationships with. That's it. Your money's not going to be there. Your social media followers ain't going to be there. Your awards and trophies won't be there. All the books you read won't be there. All that's going to be there is the people you have the strongest relationships with. Relationship building, and I'm on a micro level more now. That was a big picture level. On a micro level now, your ability to build relationships is going to future-proof you because of several reasons. First of all, when you have the right relationships, you're plugged into information before everybody else is. And you're plugged into opportunities that other people would never have access to just because you know the right person. I want all of you to understand this. Even if you're a really hardworking person and you're really smart and you're really skilled, you will get more done through having the right relationships than you will ever get done through hard work and effort by itself. None of you is that talented and that skilled to get more done through your own effort than you would get done through having the right relationships combined with effort. So it's not, I'm not telling you not to work hard. My whole brand is called Work on Your Game. I work plenty hard. But at the same time, I'm always looking to make the right connections and build the right relationships, because if I combine my effort and my game with the right relationships, that's when things can blow up. That's when I get huge opportunities. Everybody understand this? And it's the same thing for all of you. So keep working hard, develop your skill, be good at what you do, but then make the right connections so that all of that stuff can help you do more faster. So who knows you and who do you know? These are two questions you should ask yourself. Shall I say them again just so you got them? Who knows you and who do you know? Some of you are highly skilled and you work really hard. The problem is nobody knows who the hell you are. Nobody knows you. You're really skilled at a thing and you're willing to work hard at that thing, but you are completely anonymous. You're out here as a lone wolf trying to do all the hunting yourself, and you wonder why some nights you're going hungry. It's because nobody knows who the hell you are. You need to get known in your space. All of you listening to this, you need to get known in your space. This is not a suggestion. All right, this is a mandate. You need to get known. People need to know who the hell you are. Meaning, as I already told you a little while ago, every industry in the world, there are gatherings for those industries. Every industry has gatherings. Basketball players have gatherings. People who make smartphone apps have gatherings. Motivational speakers have gatherings. People in the marketing industry have gatherings. People in the medical space, there are gatherings. If you work in construction, there's a gathering. If you like collecting antique cars, there's a gathering. If you like finding rare silver coins, there are gatherings for that. There are gatherings for every single profession, industry, or interest in the world. If nobody knows you and the thing that you do, you need to find out where everybody in that space gathers, and you need to go there. And you need to physically go to the event. Everybody heard what I said? You need to physically go to the event. Why? So that you can build relationships. People can know who the hell you are and you can know them. Why? Because you will get more done through the right relationships than you will ever get done through the right effort and skill. You cannot outwork the right relationship. You cannot outwork the right relationship. So everybody hear that? Again, doesn't mean don't have skill. It means have both skill and relationships. This is the interconnectedness of humanity that you need. If you're only connected to AI technology, you're going to feel empty. Some of you are living like this right now. You just deal with technology. You're on your phone, you're on a computer, you're on a tablet, but you don't actually talk to humans over the course of a day. doesn't feel right. You need to connect to human beings, folks. Doesn't mean don't use technology. I use technology probably more than most of you who are watching me right now. But at the same time, I still build relationships. I still have connections. I still talk to actual humans. I still go to events so I can meet people, shake their hands, look them in the eyes. Why? Because the interconnectedness matters. The relationships matter. And again, I can get 10 times the things done through the right person than I will ever get done through the right effort and through the right skill. You cannot hard work your way past the right relationships. I've said that 3 times already. So you need to be good at winning friends and influencing people. All right, there's a book, Dale Carnegie, Win Friends and Influence People. You need to get good at it. You need to stay in touch with the people you already know. People need to look forward to seeing you, hearing from you, and learning what you're doing. You should add value to the room when you walk into a room. Get good at these things. And in the professional world, again, I will say this again and again and again, the right relationships will do more for you than the right effort. All right, any of you ever heard of nepotism? What is nepotism? It's when somebody puts their family on. And why does somebody put their family on? Why does a dad put his son on or a mom put her daughter on? Why? Because of the relationship. That's it, the relationship. Cronyism, they used to use that word. They don't use it that much these days. Cronyism means people helping their friends out, or usually people, highly successful people helping other highly successful people. Cronyism. I say don't get mad at it, get in the game. That's what I say. I tell people, don't get mad at these things. Get in the game so that you can participate. Instead, don't, as they say, don't be a hater, be a participator. All right, don't hate, participate. Get in the game. If you have the right relationships, wouldn't you want to leverage those relationships to get what you need? Wouldn't that be easier? It's much easier to get a loan from the bank, for example, if you're friends with the branch manager than if they don't know you. Is this true or not? Of course it is. Of course it's true. It's much easier to get a job interview if you get recommended by somebody who already works at the company than if you just submit an application cold and they never heard of you before. Is this true? Of course it's true. I'm not telling you to complain about it. What I'm telling all of you, instead of complaining about it, instead of seeing this as a negative thing, ask yourself, how can I get on the right side of these equations? How can I build the right relationship so I can be on the right side of these things? And here's the good news for all of you. There was a movie back in the day. I don't know when it came out. It was called 6 Degrees of Separation. Y'all remember that? The guy's name was Kevin Bacon. He was the head actor. 6 Degrees of Separation. And the whole concept was that any human being can reach another human being with no more than 6 connections between other people. So if I wanted to meet Michelle Obama, I wouldn't have to go through more than 6 people I know and I could connect to her. No more than 6. 6 degrees of separation between me and Michelle Obama. And I don't know Michelle Obama from anywhere. The good news about the world that we're in today, because of these devices, these smartphones that we have and the internet and everybody putting themselves and their lives on the internet, is that it's no longer 6 degrees of separation. Now it's like 3. These days, maybe only 2 or 3 degrees of separation between you and pretty much anybody that you want to know. Anybody you want to meet, anybody you want to connect with, anybody you want to send a message to, or you want to pitch them some idea, there's no more than 3 degrees of separation between you and them right now. I just gave you one of the degrees of separation. You need to go to where people gather. So whatever industry you're in, you need to go to that industry's events and meet the other people who are in the industry. Why? Because they know stuff that you don't know. They're doing things that you don't even know about. And if you meet the right person and they see what you're doing, they'll say, damn, you have exactly what we need. And boom, there's your next opportunity. You didn't have to work for it. All you had to do was be in the room. But some of you are hiding out in your house and nobody knows you. And then you wonder why your skills are not translating to the outcomes that you want, because nobody knows who the hell you are. Everybody understand this. Okay. And at the same time, if you're going to be on the internet, put yourself out there so people can know that you exist. All right. What am I doing right now? All right. This is free. Moving on. Number 12. We got 2 more points. We're talking here today about future-proof skills that all of you need. Number 12, persuasion. Persuasion. What is persuasion? It is your ability to sell. Is your ability to move people to action. Anytime you want to influence other people to a certain behavior, you are attempting to persuade them. Persuasion is sales. If you want to get someone to do something, you must persuade them to a behavior. Even if they want to do it, human beings, any of you look in the mirror or look around in your own experience in life, I just told you 3 key truths about human beings. People don't think, they don't read, and what? They are lazy. Human beings are lazy. So even when someone knows they're supposed to do something, they still don't do it. So your job as a persuader is to move them to do the thing they know they need to do, but they still aren't fucking doing it. All right, this is called procrastination. Any of you ever experienced it? I'm sure you have. Persuasion is your ability to break through another person's inertia and procrastination and motivate and inspire them to do what they already know they're supposed to do, but they're still not fucking doing. And your ability to do that is connected to what? Your ability to communicate. So you see how all of these points I'm giving you, they all work together? All right, there's a genius behind what I'm doing. All right, I say that humbly, but I'm telling you the truth. So persuasion is your ability to move other people to action, even when they know they need to take action, and especially when they don't know they need to take the action. Your ability to communicate that, and persuasion is all communication, right? You can't persuade people to do something without talking. All right, you want someone to do something, you got to tell them what it is. All right, so that's your ability to communicate, get your point across, and then motivate and inspire so that other people want to move to a certain action. And guess what makes it easier to motivate another person to an action? If there is already a relationship. You understand this? So what all these points that I'm giving you here, they all work together. If you go through all the points I've given you, I'll recap them when I'm done here. You'll understand that they all work together. And communication is one of the foundations of all of this. And these are all what we call soft skills, ladies and gentlemen. And all of you should develop as high a level of as many soft skills as possible, because these cannot be replaced by technology, and they never will be. So can you persuade other people to action? And before you even do that, let me ask a better question. Can you persuade yourself to action? All right. Can you persuade yourself to do what needs to be done? How many of you have, in the last, let's say so far this year, I'm recording this on January 28th. How many of you in the first 4 weeks of this year have had your alarm clock go off and you hit the snooze button and kept sleeping? Even one time. Okay, so what is that? That is your inability to persuade yourself to get the hell out of the bed. So before you persuade other people, you got to persuade yourself. Before you can influence other people's actions, you got to influence your own actions. And you influence your own actions, that lends a credibility to your words, an unspoken credibility to your words that makes other people want to listen to you, because they have a sixth sense that you actually are about the things that you're saying. You ever hear somebody say something and you're like, this person, they don't seem to really be about what they're saying, and you don't know why you're thinking that. It's just a feeling that you get. That's we call it the sixth sense, right? Because there are only 5 senses. But the sixth sense is like your instincts, something telling you like this person's saying it, but I don't think they really mean what they're saying. And there's also a sixth sense that someone says something and you like, I believe it. Why is that? No, we don't know why. All right. Again, that's technology can't do that. AI will never be able to do that, but human beings will always be able to do this. So that's why you need to be able to persuade. Last point. We're talking here today about the future-proof skills that you all need. Last one is storytelling. I've told you some stories in the course of this hour that I've been talking to you. What is storytelling? Storytelling is, again, another sub-point of what? Communication. Storytelling does what? Motivates and inspires people. Storytelling also persuades people. Storytelling also builds relationships. Are y'all noticing this? What I'm explaining to you? I'm pointing out these things I've already told you. Storytelling is your ability to share a narrative that allows people to follow along. Something that all of you should know is that it is much easier for people to follow a story than it is to follow information. If you ever get on a stage and you're going to give a speech, I suggest that you build your speech around stories or a story rather than building your speech around information and facts, quote unquote facts. Why? Because facts, first of all, is very hard for you to remember so much information and facts to stand on the stage and give a speech about it. You might forget what you were supposed to say if everything is facts and information. But if you're telling a story, well, it's not hard to remember a story, is it? All of you could tell me, if I ask any one of you, tell me a story for something that happened to you 10 years ago, all of you could very easily tell me the story. You might not want to tell the story, but you can come up with a story. You don't need to write anything down. You don't need any notes. You don't need to reference anything. You know exactly what happened. Just tell me the story. But if I ask you to give me some information from 10 years ago, you might have to go Google it. You see, story sticks in our heads. Human beings are wired for stories. We are wired for narrative. This is the reason why history is called what it is. His story. History is just a story. It's just a story that got passed down. Every religious text is a big, long story. They're all stories. Everything that gets passed down historically, ladies and gentlemen, is passed down in the form of story, not in the form of facts. This is the reason why you may want to be wary of some things that are told to you that are quote unquote historical fact, because they're just stories. Historical fact is just a story. So you don't have to believe anything that's passed down to you as a historical fact, because again, stories are written by the people who are alive to tell them. So if one country goes to war with the other country, and the country that wins gets to write the history book and tell you what happened. So is it the accurate is it the accurate telling of what actually happened? We'll never know, because the people who got killed, they can't tell their story. They did. They didn't get to write the book. History is written by the winners, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you all that to help you understand everything's a story, and you need to get good at telling stories, because human beings believe stories. Not everybody believes every story, but if you want to get a point across, you need to be able to tell a story in a compelling and compinduous way that motivates and inspires other people to believe you, because you are persuading them to see things how you see them based on the story that you tell. Facts and information do not motivate and inspire people. You cannot motivate somebody with information. Think about it. Last time you heard a motivational speaker talk, were they giving you information? Were they giving you facts? Were they giving you objectivity? No, they were giving you a story. That's why you followed it. That's why you felt it. That's why you got motivated, because they gave you a story. Nobody wants to hear information and facts. Information and facts are boring. All right. Facts barely even matter anymore these days. Facts get manipulated. Facts get taken out of context. People use facts to tell you lies. We know this happens. All right. You heard fake news. Nobody trusts the mainstream media anymore. People are listening to podcasts more than they watch the TV news. Why? Because we don't trust them. Because they tell us facts, but they pull the facts out of context and they play around with the truth. We all know that. And that's the story about them, right? That's why nobody listens to them anymore. You want to be motivated, you got to hear a story. You want to motivate yourself, you got to think of a story. Right? If I ask any one of you, what's something that motivates and inspires you? If I ask everybody who's listening to this right now, and I'm live on 6 different platforms right now. If I ask you, tell me something that motivates and inspires you, none of you is going to give me information or facts. None of you. None of you is going to be a single piece of information or a single fact. You're going to tell me a story. Is this true? Of course it's true. All right, so you need to get good at telling stories. Why? Because stories motivate and inspire other people. Stories build relationships. Stories persuade. Stories influence. And stories are one of the key skills of communication. Next time you hear a speaker give a speech, listen to them talk and ask yourself, just pay attention to them talking and ask yourself, how much information are they giving me versus how much story are they telling me? I guarantee you more than half of what they say is a story, not information. Guaranteed. And I tell professional speakers this all the time. If you're going to get on stage and give a speech, build your speech around stories, not around information. Information is boring. People will fall asleep during your speech. You're giving them information. Even if it's accurate information, it's boring. Nobody wants to hear information. People want to hear stories. When you take your kids to bed at night, do you read them a book about information or do you read them a story? You read them a story. Why? Because they can listen to a story. A 3-year-old cannot follow information. A 3-year-old wants to hear a story. And someone who's 33 wants to hear a story, not information. All right. So all of you out there trying to give people information and quote unquote facts, stop. You're boring the audience. You're boring yourself. And nobody's going to remember anything that you said anyway. How many of you can remember information from high school? Most of you don't remember shit from high school, but you graduated. But you don't remember shit that you got taught. But can you tell me a story of something that happened in high school? Again, you don't even have to go look it up. You know what happened. You can just tell me the story. You don't even have to think about it. You can just tell me what happened. But you can't tell me any of the information you got from high school, even though that's why you were there, right? Weren't you there to learn? Right? You can't remember anything. But you could tell me all the stories. Y'all notice that? Human beings are wired for story. Okay? Tell more stories. Stop giving people information. All right. Nobody cares about information. Facts don't matter. All right. Now, let me recap these points here today. How to future-proof yourself. Number 1, communication. Number 2, conflict resolution. Number 3, complex decision-making. Number 4, contextual understanding. Number 5, original thought. Number 6, artistic expression. Number 7, inspiring and motivating others. Number 8, learning from experience. Number 9, resilience. Number 10, personalized care. Number 11, relationship building. Number 12, persuasion. And number 13, storytelling. So with that said, let me see. MJ MBK said, any books you can recommend that foster critical thinking skills? That's a good question. That foster critical thinking skills. There are probably books that just talk specifically about critical thinking. The thing is, those books, they are going to be highly technical because critical thinking is a technical thing. It's about looking at things objectively. Any specific book? I don't know if there's any specific book that I would say just lays it all out. I would say I like Robert Greene's work. I like Dan Kennedy's work. He tends to talk about business. Robert Greene tends to talk about humanity and personal connections. But there's no one specific book. It's a good question that you're asking, but I wouldn't say any one specific book. There's First Principles. There's a book called First Principles. I don't remember who wrote the book. Just look it up. It's called First Principles. And I would just look up critical thinking and read the books on that. Robert Cialdini's book on influence. His books on influence are good in that direction. but I wouldn't say any specific book that is just about critical thinking. No, I think critical thinking is an ability that there are probably people who have written books on it. I haven't read them specifically about that subject, but I would say is a skill that you develop just by being discerning and observant and learning how to ask questions, which I got from an amalgamation of all the books that I read. I probably read a 1,000, maybe 1,000 books. I don't know. I have no way of counting. Maria said, raise our vibration. Appreciate you, Maria. Rehan Gaming. Good morning. Focus Willis said, the storytelling is a great key. Yes, it is. It's a huge ability. The ability to tell stories. Those of you who are not good at telling stories, the good news for you is that you have stories. You just got to get good at telling them. Everyone listens to this has stories. I can't tell you how many times I've heard someone tell me that they want to get into the speaking business. And then when they get asked why you want to get into the speaking business, and the answer is always the same thing. I have a story. I did this in my life. I went through this. I had this experience. Every human being on the planet has a story, like your life. And if you can pull something out of that would be inspiring or motivating or informative for other people, then boom, there you go. Tell that story. Most of you have 1,000 stories, but you just don't think of it that way. I got 1,000,000 stories. I just pick and choose which ones I want to tell you based on the information I want to get to you. And I should add this in here because I just told you facts don't matter and information is boring. It's not that, and that's true. Facts don't matter and information is boring. It doesn't mean that people don't need the facts and the information. Thing is, if you want to give people facts and information, you have to mix it in with a story so that it's easier for them to digest and understand it. If you just give people a bunch of information and no story, they won't follow it because, again, the brain is not wired to just consume information. And if you just had to sit and consume a bunch of information all day, what happens? You fall asleep. You fall asleep at the desk trying to consume information because it's fucking boring. You understand? So this is a skill to be able to weave things together, weave different pieces of information together and put them into a new space. That's a skill in and of itself. That wasn't even in my list, but that's a skill as well. Most of what we call creativity, that's all it is. It's taking material from one place and other material from another place and then combining them in a new way that nobody thought of before. And then we call it creativity. But they didn't actually create anything. Well, what they created was a combination of things that already existed. So the smartphone, for example, is a combination of what? They took a phone, which we already had. They took an MP3 player, which we already had. And they took a computer, which we already had. All they did was combine them all three into one device and put it in your pocket. That's what Steve Jobs did. And they called him a creative genius. Did he actually create anything? Technically, yes. But all he took was a bunch of things that already existed and he put them together in a new way. And then we called it creative genius. So it's the same thing any of you can do. When I first started coming out on the internet, I took the internet, which already existed, and I took basketball, which already existed, and I took practicing basketball. So I didn't just take basketball, I took practicing basketball, and I started putting it on the internet before anybody else was doing it. And that created a lane. Now, look how many people do that. Now it's millions of people. That's all they do. They're not even trying to play in college or make the NBA. They just want to put basketball practice on the internet and they can make money doing it. There's a whole new industry now that 20 years ago wasn't even a thing. So for all of you, it's just figuring out how can you take what already exists, what you already have, combine it in new ways and make something quote unquote new. The best way to be sure that what you're creating is new is to put a little bit of yourself in it because nobody can copy that. People can't copy you. They can copy the other stuff. They can't copy you. So that's why if you mix your story in, now it becomes proprietary, it becomes yours because nobody else has your same story. So with all that said, everybody, I'm doing these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. I'm on 6 platforms right now: YouTube, Rumble, X, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. By Friday, I'll be back on 7 because I'm still banned on TikTok. I got banned on TikTok for a week. So I'll be back on TikTok on Friday, but I'll still be doing these lives. Tomorrow is Wednesday and Thursday. And then Friday, it will be normal for all of you wherever you're watching this. And then Friday, we'll be back on with the TikTok audience who can't see this. But make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's YouTube/@DreB, the letter B. That's my last name, Baldwin. And yes, all of these replays, Tiffany, are on YouTube. So just go to my YouTube channel. You'll see the replays of every live that I've ever done. I've been doing these lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. That's the time that I go. I've been doing this wave of live streams. I've done live streams in the past, but I started doing these Monday through Friday, probably back in like September of last year. So in 6 months, was that 4 September, October, November, 5 months, I've been suspended on TikTok like 5 or 6 times for saying the wrong thing. Even though it's funny because I'm on all these platforms at the same time, but nobody else even gave me a warning or flagged me or suspended me, only TikTok. So they have a very sensitive community guidelines layout or whatever you want to call it. So I hope TikTok gets sold to some American-based business owner like Elon Musk so they can remove the bullshit and we can have straight up free speech, keeping the algorithm in place, because TikTok has a great algorithm for live streaming. That's why I still mess with it, even though they keep suspending me. I still like it because I can get a lot of people to see me through their algorithm. But other than that, I don't fuck with TikTok. But I will when they come back on, because why not? I'm in the attention business. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Again, all my lives will be housed there. I got a lot of videos on YouTube. So anything I've ever talked about, ladies and gentlemen, if you hear me say I've said it before, is on YouTube. All right, you can find it. Just look it up. It's there. And that's that. I'll be here tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. Topic to be determined. Everybody have a great Tuesday. Oh, yeah, workonyourgameuniversity.com. If you want to work with me directly, have me as your personal coach, just go to workonyourgameuniversity.com and take the next step. It's very clear right there on the page. Work on your game. We out here.